Please do not demonize cholesterol. Adults who have higher levels of cholesterol tend to live longer than adults who have lower levels of cholesterol. The evidence suggests that higher level of LDL alone is not the problem. Did you know that without cholesterol, it will be impossible for a man to impregnate a woman or for a woman to even give birth? In fact, cholesterol has so many benefits to human, yet it has been demonized. Well, because higher level is linked to heart disease and stroke. But there is a new research showing that higher levels of cholesterol in older people tend to make them live longer, and so it reduces the risk of death. And so the big problem now, and the big question is cholesterol really the problem? Is it an enemy to us or a keeper of life? Well, in this episode, I'm going to share with you everything you need to know about cholesterol. My name is Dietitian Ikotozi, and my goal is to empower you to make healthier choices. So stay tuned and enjoy the rest of the video. Cholesterol is very essential to human survival to the extent that the liver produces cholesterol every day. And so the liver produces majority of the cholesterol your body needs, and only about 20% comes from our diet. Now, in your system, because cholesterol is a type of fat, it cannot dissolve in the blood. So it is packaged into a particle we call lipoprotein so that it can be transported. So basically, the lipoprotein is like a car that transports cholesterol and other substances in your blood. And we have different types based on the content and the purpose. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to talk about only two. And these two predict our risk of heart disease and stroke. And they are high density lipoprotein and low density lipoprotein, which we call HDL and then LDL. Now, the LDL, the function is to transport cholesterol to various cells throughout the body. And then the HDL in return removes excess cholesterol from your tissues and then transport it back to the liver so that the liver can break it down and then dispose or excrete, usually in the form of bile. Now, this function of the HDL is known to protect our heart and then reduce our risk of heart disease. So it means that if you have higher HDL, your risk of heart disease is lower. And that is why we call it the good cholesterol. On the other hand, the LDL cholesterol is tagged as the bad cholesterol because higher level of it is what is linked to atherosclerosis, which subsequently leads to heart disease and stroke. But new studies suggest that this association that has been known for a long period is wrong because the evidence suggests that higher level of LDL alone is not the problem unless it is damaged. And this data has been supported in animal model studies where increased level of LDL in rats over a period of time did not cause plaque formation in the arteries or the walls of the arteries of the animals. And also, it did not also put the animals at risk of heart disease. However, when the cholesterol was damaged or oxidized, it significantly placed the animals at risk of cardiovascular disease. And in the study, cholesterol can be damaged due to certain factors such as lack of physical activity, excessive weight gain, excess intake of saturated fats, insulin resistance, smoking, and many other factors. And these factors, what happens is that they release free radicals into the blood. And so when these free radicals encounter the cholesterol in your blood, like they oxidize the cholesterol, or let me say, they damage the cholesterol, and that is the problem. Now, the mechanism is that when the cholesterol gets damaged by these free radicals, the body in its own way tries to remove the damaged cholesterol. And so it recruits some white blood cells to kind of swallow up these particles. Now, this action will cause the particles to get attached to the walls of your arteries. Now, when that happens, the body sees that as an injury, and so it triggers what we call inflammatory response. This will cause substances to start rushing to that particular site to kind of go and repair the injury. but that rather will rather start causing the buildup of substances at that particular location. And so this is what will cause your arteries to start becoming narrower and then hardened. Now when your arteries becomes narrow and hardened, it puts you at risk of heart disease and then also puts you at risk of stroke. And so that is the problem. So if you look at the mechanism, the danger is not really the high cholesterol, but the problem is the factors that will damage your cholesterol. And so that is why in some context it is very important to focus on these factors rather than taking medications to reduce your cholesterol level, because you need the cholesterol very well, and even in high amounts it is known to even prolong our life. And to support this data, some researchers actually conducted a research among older adults. The article was published in the Nutrient Journal in March this year. Now what they did was that they recruited about 168 subjects and then took their blood samples and then checked their lipid profile. Now they monitored them for a period of 6 years from 2018 to 2024. Now at the end of the study, they realized that all the subjects, about 20, died. And what did they find? In their analysis, they discovered that those who survived had higher levels of LDL. And so in their conclusion, even though they had their own steady limitation, after adjustment and everything, they concluded that adults who have higher levels of cholesterol tend to live longer than adults who have lower levels of cholesterol. And so this research might just be an indication that cholesterol is not the problem after all, but the enemy is rather the factors that damage the cholesterol. The enemy is the oxidized, or let me say damaged cholesterol, not the cholesterol. Because cholesterol is so important to our lives. That is why we all need to live a healthy life. And so as a dietitian, I want to encourage you and make you understand that please do not demonize cholesterol. And again, do not demonize eggs because they are rich in cholesterol. No, they contain important nutrients. And moreover, research doesn't show the association between egg intake and increase in your cholesterol. No. And so please, eat eggs, at least 1 or 2 in a day. It's not harmful. Okay? And to also protect your cholesterol from getting damaged, make sure you exercise every day. Make sure you reduce the intake of saturated fats. If you are overweight or obese, try to manage your weight. Okay? Avoid smoking. Okay? To reduce the intake of too much carbohydrates so that it doesn't lead to insulin resistance. Avoid alcohol and live a healthier life. When you do this, your cholesterol will be protected, and then the cholesterol will also protect you, allow your body to function very well, and then it will prolong your life. Because studies have made us understand very well that cholesterol is not the enemy. We are rather the enemy to the cholesterol. And so please, be careful, be informed, and live a healthy life. Thank you very much for watching this video. You can also share so that others can benefit. Bye-bye.